So I didn't think about it. With the time change, the sun is going to come up over the building across the street and may affect our guest. A good morning. It's straight up at 8 o'clock, a Monday start of week edition of the Mornings with Ed show. Delighted to have you with us across the country, across the globe, broadcasting live from the magnificent community of Laguna Beach, California. It's now time for the Artist Corner. And a few months back, we had this gentleman in, and I've mentioned many times how fascinated I am, A, with timepieces, and B, with his story. Mitch was born into a family of collectors, and he's gone personally from stamp collecting to watch collecting. We talked about his previous book, which was Time on My Hands. His new book involves murder. And it's called Time Eternal. We welcome in for the Artist Corner this morning, Mitch Katz. A very good morning to you, Mitch.
Good morning, Ed. It's an absolute pleasure to be here again.
It is so great to have you. I loved our first conversation. I was fascinated by it, as were the listeners. And I'm really fascinated by the new book. So we will talk about that in a moment, but I just want to make sure that all of your timepieces have been changed to the correct time this past weekend.
Not a one yet. It is the responsibility of the watch collector to ultimately change to the correct time.
Right.
If you can't believe it, if you could believe it, there are people who walk around without setting their watch. It's just the pleasure of having the watch on their wrist.
Right.
Drives me crazy.
Yeah.
If you're going to have a watch, you got to set it properly.
Yeah.
But be that as it may, yeah, it's the fun of having a watch is to be able to set it and wind it. And have a relationship with it.
Right. You look at it, you admire it as you do those things. You maybe even brush it up against your shirt to polish it a little bit. For me, I changed the time on all my watches, and I never changed the time on the digital in the truck ever. So it was an hour ahead for 5 months or whatever, and now it's right. Now it's okay.
Yeah.
And I've got to ask you this. I don't know that I mentioned it last time. Did you notice the clock on the wall here, the Abbey Road clock?
I see it, yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's
cool.
Is that something I should be quite proud of? Because I am, really. I swear. I love
Absolutely.
that. Yeah. All right. You got the Beatles walking across Abbey
you
Road
go.
there. All right. Well, welcome back. Good. It's really good to have you. The new book, Time Eternal.
Yes.
Different from your previous book in so many ways. This is a murder mystery.
Yes, it is.
How did you always want to write a murder mystery?
When I was growing up, I started with the Hardy Boys.
Right.
And
Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys.
Well,
just the Hardy Boys.
Just the Hardy Boys.
Okay, all right.
And then as I got older, I discovered Agatha Christie and read quite a few of hers.
Right.
And she helped me through school because whenever an exam was coming up, I'd pull out an Agatha Christie, and it was a nice distraction after hours in the library.
Right.
But I've always tended toward that genre.
Right.
About 30 years ago, just for fun, I wrote a spy thriller kind of book, longhand, on paper. Ultimately put it in the computer, but didn't do anything with it.
Right.
But it was just fun because I'm not a writer. I certainly wasn't then, but I did it for fun.
Right.
And I wrote it, and there was this great sense of pride because the first word was mine and the last word was mine.
Yeah.
And to be able to write the end and know I had completed the circle was really a gas. It was fun.
When you say you're not a writer, you are the only person on the planet that believes that. You are
thank you.
A brilliant writer.
Thank you.
I truly believe that, and I cannot wait to read this book. So as a writer, as you write a murder mystery,
yes.
Do you already know the outcome as you're writing it, or is that just a process that happens?
Certainly in this book,
Right.
I didn't.
Okay.
I started out with a premise, and that's how I tend to write these books.
Right.
Because I've written more now, or in the process of writing more. I start with a premise, but I have not a clue where the book is going. And again, it is such a rush that when I finally write the end, I've completed the circle and it all makes sense.
Right.
Then the work starts, because then you have to really craft the book. But be that as it may, and in this book, I rewrote the ending 5 times.
Really?
Until I was satisfied with it.
Right. So the very first ending that you rewrote, you went back and you read the entire book, I'm sure, to make sure that it made sense. And you went, well, there's got to be a better ending.
Well, first, no. I was concentrated on the last few chapters, and it just bothered me because it wasn't right.
Okay.
It just wasn't right.
Okay.
And then I came up with a different killer. I actually thought as I was writing the book, I thought I knew who the killer was. And then when I finally revealed the killer, it just didn't, it was too obvious. There was too much to it. Right. That I wasn't comfortable with, and I ultimately rewrote the end, and then I went back and read the book to make sure that I had set it up right.
Right. Oh, I love that. I love it. So, the cast of characters,
yes.
are these drawn from your own personal experience and life?
They are all, underline all, fictional.
Okay.
In this cast of characters, there's actually a brother and sister who are running a watch company. Now, I know of and have met brothers and sisters who are running watch companies. In fact, there's one who I had the opportunity to meet several occasions. And as I was finishing up this book, I actually had dinner with them a year ago. And I said, yeah, I'm releasing this book, but I just want to assure you that you are not in this book.
Okay.
And I was actually talking to the brother's wife, and she said, do they have children? I said, no.
Okay.
She said, you're good. Because they have children, and
Right.
my characters aren't married or have children. So,
Okay.
but otherwise, they are drawn from concepts. I have had some people who have asked me to be in their book. And of those, a number of them have asked to be killed.
Okay.
And
Because that's
so-
got to be a really cool thing. I have always wanted to be like the body on Law and Order. When the opening of Law and Order. Oh,
Yeah.
this guy. Yeah, I've always wanted to be that guy.
Actually, some have asked to be. I want to be the big hero, the Superman of the story. And I say, yeah, that's not this book, man. I'll kill you, but I'm not going to make you a superhero.
Right.
I have my protagonists,
Right.
and they're not going to be you.
Right.
But if you want to be killed, and in fact, I now have a list of people of friends who have said they want to be in a book and they want to be murdered.
Right. So the inclusion of timepieces and those that operate a watch store or whatever, the inclusion of timepieces,
Yes.
just a natural fit for you, I would imagine. Just when you came up with the concept of the book, did it have to include timepieces?
Well, the object of writing the book initially was to write a murder mystery involving watches.
Okay.
That was while I was in the midst of producing the first book, Time on My Hands. A friend of mine said, "Oh, you should write a murder mystery involving watches," and it's like, okay, oh, that's a great idea. I don't know what that means, and it must have percolated in my brain.
Right.
True story. We were, my wife and I were going to a restaurant on Mother's Day,
Okay.
and we had parked, and we're walking across the street to the restaurant, and it was as if I passed through a portal. We're in mid-street, and I looked at my wife. I said, "I got it." And she said, "Let's not get hit by a car. What did you get?" And so we got to the sidewalk. I said, "I have the plot for a murder mystery." And we spent the evening talking about the plot, and I had come up with a couple of characters already for the book. And it was like, wow, I have a plot. So this first book is based on a watch movement that I actually know was invented, but nothing came of it.
Okay.
And it always bothered me or always brought wonder as to why that watch movement never came to fruition. I have now theories, but I won't tell you.
Okay.
Because it's in the book.
All right.
But, and that was the basis for the first one. I've since gone on to write a second one,
Right.
which I'm in now knee-deep in editing. I've actually written the first draft of a third book.
Okay.
But they all have something to do with watches or the watch industry. But one doesn't need to understand much, if anything, about watches to read the book and not get totally lost.
Right. Oh, I again, you had me at hello, Mitch. You really did. So the fascination that you had growing up with Agatha Christie and Agatha
Yes.
Christie novels, what did she do right that lured you into those stories?
She created a world of, if you will, mystery, the whodunit,
Right.
but she created a world. She created a character that was familiar. And I particularly enjoyed her Hercule Poirot books. And I became so fascinated with Hercule Poirot and so related to him.
Right.
I have never read, and I'm not sure I want to, read the last book where he purportedly dies.
Right.
I couldn't bring myself to read it.
It's like losing a friend.
Exactly.
Right.
And in my books, the bad guys are the bad guys.
Right.
But the people I've created, I've developed this world around, are my friends. And it's fun, and it's the same kind of feeling. Like there are people there that I want to bring back. In fact, there's a couple of not great people,
Right.
not the heroes or the super villains. I enjoyed it. I want to bring them back, and I'm planning to bring them back in a subsequent book.
So you bring up a fascinating point. So in your writing, as you write,
Yes.
and maybe as you brush somebody off and they die, is there a sense of loss to the writer?
Oh no!
Okay.
I enjoy it. Okay. I spent my career trying to prevent illness and save people.
Right.
This is great. if you get angry at something, you can just do away with them, and there are no consequences.
Yeah, chapter 7, you're done, buddy. Yeah.
Well, there is somebody in town
Okay.
who asked to be in a book,
Okay.
and the person said, "I want to be in your book, and I want to be murdered." I said, "Really?" And this person said, "Yes." I said, "Okay." I had already pretty much finished writing the first book, the second draft, whatever I was in, but I was in the middle of writing the second book. So I came to a point where I needed a character, so I wrote this person in,
Right.
and I killed the person quite nastily.
Quite gruesomely.
Right. And I emailed the person. I said, "Well, you show up on page whatever,
Right.
and you're dead on page whatever." And the person wrote back and said, "You just made my weekend." And I've since talked to this person, and I changed your name a little bit, and you're not the greatest person in the world,
Right.
and you're a drug addict. Does that bother you? He said, "No, that's great."
It must be such an honor to be within the pages of your book. That's
To
what
know
it is.
that
Yeah.
you are there, yes.
Yes.
I guess. I don't know.
So the editing process.
Yes.
That fascinates me. So when you're done writing, then there's the editing. Are there things that are left on the floor that you might add to a subsequent book? Are there instances you take out that you think, well, maybe for another book, maybe for another time?
Sometimes, yes. Writing the book is a lot of fun. Absolutely a lot of fun. The creative process, I don't know how it happens,
Right.
but I come to a point, and it's like, how am I going to go from A to C? I need B. And then it comes to me,
Right.
and it's such a rush. So I love the creative process. The editing is that's the work. That really is the work. the editor told me that it takes 4 times the amount of time to edit a book than it does to write a book. And right now, as I said, I'm knee deep in editing the second book,
Right.
and I'm essentially rewriting the whole thing, because there's one thing about creating the story, it's another about telling the story properly.
Right.
And there's a concept called show, not tell. In other words, where you show the story by actions, by conversation or whatever, as opposed to telling the story where you just, well, Joe went from A to B to C to D.
Right.
That's boring.
Right.
But how do you show that Joe went from A to D and make it in an interesting way?
Right.
So the story is done, but now I'm about a third of the way through the book, rewriting it, and I hope to get it done in a month. And some people think the editing process is painful, which it absolutely is, but it's a learning experience.
Right.
Not being a writer, not spending all my years honing the craft, it's a learning process. I enjoy it immensely, but it's a lot of work.
Oh, I can only imagine. I can only imagine. So describe the beginning of the story for us, if you would.
Well, on page 1, the reader is presented with a dead body.
Okay.
Now, when I was writing it, it took me 40 pages of writing to figure out who I had just killed.
Okay.
In fact, my wife, who's very much part of the creative process, my wife was the one who told me, this is the person you killed, not that person. Because if you want to have a series, you can't kill this person. And it was interesting. So we had a lot of conversations, so I had to make sure I killed the right person.
Very astute observation on your part.
So it's about it starts with the murder of a person.
Okay.
And then we dive in 8 weeks earlier and set up the scene and present the basis for what's happening. The introduction of the watchmaker who has neurodevelopmental issues, is on the autistic spectrum, and his struggles, and how he's creating this movement, and it builds into a murder, and then the investigation which leads to more murders.
Okay. This is great. This is just great. So when you write, do you need absolute silence in the house? Do you have your own room? I mean, can you write while other people are around you talking, or what is that like? What is that process like?
I cannot write if there's words being spoken.
Okay.
Typically, I will have the radio on,
Okay.
and it's usually jazz. But if you ask me what I'm listening to, I have not a clue. I'm zoned out. I don't hear it, but I need the background.
Right.
Maybe it's a little bit of my own ADD
Well,
kind of coming in.
Ambience for the brain. A little
Exactly.
just ambience.
And it's kind of white noise.
Right.
And it could be anything, but if it's one of my characters, the watchmaker, when he's working, he listens to heavy metal.
Okay.
That's a nod to my son, but who's a metalhead. But I can't zone out. But jazz, even if it's sung, there's words,
Right.
I can deal with that. But if it's like a talk show or something like that,
Right.
something like this, I couldn't write to it. That's too distracting.
Right.
The words get in the way.
Okay. So as you continue to write in your career
Yes.
in writing, and I hope it's a long career in writing,
Thank you.
changing from some of these characters that we read about in this book will be in future books?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. I'm building a community of. There's a couple of police officers. There's the protagonist, investigator, and his sidekick, if you will, the
Right.
watchmaker, a pathologist. They will all continue.
Does it make it more difficult to keep their stories moving than a brand new character that we introduce out of nowhere?
No, because the editor had me do an exercise. And I spent a number of days just writing about each character. So I have, I don't know, about 10 pages where I've really described each character. And it's easier than starting from ground zero.
Okay.
I have a friend who's writing a series of fantasy books. And he said his first book's 700 pages or something like that. And that to me is intimidating. This book's about 350 or so. And I was stunned because the editor said, yeah, you want about 90,000 words. And that's about what readers want. And the fantasy books are so much longer.
Right.
And it's because you have to create a whole world, and so that you convince the reader such that when the tree starts talking, that's a natural occurrence.
Right.
If I wrote a book and said, oh, the tree is starting to talk, go, what's that all about?
What the hell? Where did
And
that
so
come from?
it's
Right.
easier to keep the family going, if you will,
Right.
from book to book. And I can see the development of certain characters and things they've done, and using my watchmaker, my autistic character, seeing him slowly coming out of his shell, within constraints, of course, to see other characters develop or continue their silliness.
Right.
It's fun.
Okay. I've spoken to authors that have mentioned that sometimes halfway or three-quarters through what they're writing, they develop a block for about a week or two, or sometimes even longer, and they have to just step away. If not that, is there an editing block as well sometimes?
There might be. I haven't found
You
it.
haven't?
One thing that I do, the whole process is fascinating. Every night, I have to put warm compresses on my eyes. My optometrist wants me to do it to help with keeping my eyes moist, whatever.
Okay.
So for 10 minutes, I have warm compresses, not hot, on my eyes, so I can't see. I'm laying on a couch in my bedroom. I have classical music on. And for that 10 minutes, I'm zoned out. And I cannot tell you how many times, Ed, I have come up with plot points. You know, I'm at a scene, and it's like, how am I going to get to the next scene, or where am I going with this? And just with total sensory divorce, I come up with the scene. It's like, oh my gosh. So often, and usually when I'm actually writing the book, I'll lay there, come up with some stuff, and then I'll go get into bed, and I will write on a pad 4 or 5 pages, handwritten, of notes of things that I've just come up with. Because if I don't, I'll never get to sleep.
Right.
But I have fortunately not faced the block. I mean, I have, as I've said, I have the second book. I've written the first draft of the third book. I already have notes for a fourth book. So I would almost want to have blocked for a little while just to give me a break. And I can't get to it.
When you say warm compresses, I've actually been considering cucumbers at night. I think,
But same process.
yeah, same thing, right?
Same idea.
All right. And just a stupid idea out of left field. Just bear with me here. Would you ever consider a fantasy novel involving timepieces? Because I've got a great idea.
I'm happy to listen. Haven't considered it because why? I'm having so much fun
Right.
doing what I'm doing.
Right.
Why take the chance of genre? And although I have over time read some fantasy books, that's not
where you are.
my thing.
Right.
And people say, oh, you know, write what you know. I don't know anything about murder mysteries or whatever, except that I've enjoyed writing them. And the type of murder mystery I like is not the Superman one where, you know, the hero takes a beating and the next day he's kind of getting involved with this beautiful woman and he's beating up bad guys. It's like, yeah, that's not based on reality. I can't do that.
Right.
I like as is called, a cozy mystery.
Okay. Explain to our audience what they'll experience through this.
Excuse me?
Explain to our audience what they will experience once they've closed the book and they're done.
What my hope is when you're done with the book, you have a little bit of knowledge about watches, what it takes to make a watch.
Okay.
Because there is some explanation about the mechanics behind a watch.
Okay.
Nothing at all does one need to go to watchmaking school or need an engineering degree, because I don't understand that as well. But it's an interesting facet in what it takes to make a watch. But really what I'm hoping is the reader comes away saying, and then what? When I'm writing the book, I work with my wife, so I'll write 20 pages or something like that, and then I'll hand it to her. So she can just make sure that I'm on the right track. And neither of us know what the next 20 pages are going to be, but she'll read it, just, again, make sure it's in English. And then she hands it back to me and is really angry with me, saying, now what? I might know, but I might not know, but I won't tell her because I want her to read it. I want to see if she gets the punch where there's a punch to be had.
Right.
Theoretically, not physically.
Of course.
Of course. But I want I don't want this to be the completed story, because this is a journey and
Right.
there are more adventures to be had. And it's fun when somebody says, yeah, okay, what's next?
Right. I'll be starting it tonight. The book is Time Eternal from Mitch Katz. When time itself is the prize, nobody plays by the rules. Mitch, where can we find this book that benefits you the most?
The most logical place is Amazon or any online bookseller, Barnes & Noble, what have you. What benefits me the most? That people enjoy it, and people don't call me a poser. I mean,
That'll never happen. That'll never
no,
happen.
but you're sweet. But still, for me, when people say, I got your book, you did. When people say, I read your book, you did. And then when people say they enjoy my book, I'm glad. And if we need some escapism now, and I think it's a good time to just go to a different world and just enjoy a few moments alone away from what's going on in the world these days.
Okay. Mitch Katz, we will have you back. Please, let's do this on a regular basis.
Love it.
With each of your releases, and certainly after I'm done reading this, I cannot wait to let you know how much I loved it.
Oh, thank you so very much,
right.
Ed.
Mitch Katz, Time Eternal is the book on this morning's Artist Corner. Thank you so very much again for being here this morning. We'll look forward to our next conversation.
I look forward to it as well.
All right.
Thanks, Ed.
8:28 the time. It's the Mornings with Ed show, and it's the all-new voice of Laguna.